boy JadeJonny back with another video. Been a while. Not gonna lie, and honestly, not having fun with most things I do, but hey, that's life, ain't it? So, as you can clearly tell from everything sitting behind me, well, maybe not, those are tool things, but whatever. I play games, and you know how everybody says competitive players are running games? It's probably the opposite. Let's talk about it. So, one of the biggest factors in gaming in general is always the divide between casual and competitive. You can't be casual if you're competitive. You can't be competitive if you're casual. Making one mistake makes you a casual player, not a competitive player. Honestly, though, it's more of the other way around. The big thing is competitive players, we gain knowledge off of our mistakes. We improve off those mistakes. We make so many mistakes. We understand every mistake we can make. We continuously make these mistakes. That's what we call misplaying. And learning from those misplays helps us develop as players. That's the huge thing with competitive players, is we like to develop and grow and improve as players. A competitive player can sit down and play a casual game of Commander, for example. The only downside is that by playing that casual game of Commander, they're going to realize every mistake that they're making, and they're probably going to start noticing the mistakes other players are making. This leads to them usually telling other players, hey, you could have done this instead. This isn't, a competitive player being toxic by nature. This is the competitive player trying to help the other players improve, because that's what they personally find fun about the game. Casual players don't usually like this. I personally don't understand why. If I'm making a mistake, I want somebody to tell me, hey, this was a mistake that you made, maybe you could improve upon this. I don't really get the mindset behind it, and honestly, it's kind of confusing to me. But that's because I'm a competitively natured person by nature. It's just my brain wants me to improve and develop my skills that I have in certain games. Whether or not those skills are good or bad, that's just, debatable. That's all in a matter of, is somebody enjoying the game the same way I am? I have no issue sitting down and playing casual games with casual players, even as a competitive level player. The only decks I have are competitive. That's by nature what I do. I only carry competitive decks because I am a competitive player. But if somebody has a spare casual deck, I personally am not opposed to playing that casual deck against a casual player. That's just simply, as a competitive player. I'm okay with lowering the power level every now and then, as long as it's not my personal collection that's being lowered in power level. Now, the huge downside is, though, casual players don't think the same way. Casual players, if they see a competitively natured person, for some reason, they seem to have a personal vendetta against that person. They seem to think that that person cannot have fun playing a game casually just because they want to improve and develop as a competitive player. I am more than willing to sit down with a casual player and sit across from the table with them using a casual deck. However, many casual players don't want to do that. Most, if not all, casual players will see a competitive player and say that person must be no fun to play against because they're a competitive player. This really causes some issues in most communities because it always ends up in a which side is right and which side is wrong thing. There is no right or wrong side. There's no right or wrong way to play a game. If I want to sit down and play competitive with a competitive person, I'm going to sit down and play competitive with a competitive person. If I enter in a tournament, I'm going to assume that every person there is to win or is there to have fun in a competitive environment, so I'm going to go in with a competitive mindset. I'm not going to take a casual deck to a competitive tournament. I have an ice barrier deck. I don't use ice barriers, hardly ever when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't use ice barriers, because ice barriers are not meant to win. I have one because I would like to sit across from, my more casual friends and play an actual game of casual Yu-Gi-Oh! Every now and then, but it's not a competitive deck. There's a huge divide. Personally, all my decks are mostly competitive with the exception of some Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks. That's just because I'm the competitive. Whatever. That's a discussion for another time. That's whatever. But most competitive players will be willing to sit down and have a casual game, but once it comes to tournaments and events such as that, we're going to be looking for a competitive themed game, and we're going to assume everybody there who's there to compete in a tournament is there to play competitively. It's all a matter of obviousness, common sense. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know words, but I'm a competitive gamer, not a competitive vocabularian. Vocabulist? I don't know what that word is either, but hey, you get what I mean. But then you'll have casual players competing in a tournament saying, hey, that's not fun to play against. We are here to win prizes. If that prize is a booster pack, it is still a prize. We are here to get said prize. I want prize more than you. That's why I play to win to get prize. If there is prize online, I'm not holding your hand in this. It's all a matter of perspective. If you are willing to compete into a tournament, go to the tournament to compete. If you're playing in a tournament to play, don't be mad when you end up against somebody who is competing. We are all there for a reason, and that is to play the game with the goal of earning a prize. The way to increase your chances of earning the prize is by increasing your chances to earn the prize by going there to win. Now, this is a mindset that a lot of people disagree with for some reason. I don't get why personally. This isn't me talking down to anybody. This is me simply saying and explaining that there is opportunities to play casual games. You have Facebook, you have Discord, you have many ways to get outlets to play casual games. Don't go somewhere where there is a prize on the line and then get mad because somebody is there to win. This is just simply common sense. This is like, you know, somebody wants prize, somebody wants to get prize, so somebody's going to go there to win. That's a matter of, you know, step-by-step logic, you know. If you want to play a casual game, you can go to Facebook. There's multiple games, like communities for casual gamers on Facebook. There's multiple communities for casual games on Facebook. You can find anything on Facebook, on Twitter, on Discord, on Reddit. There are sources for you to play casual games. Now, that being said, that's all from a competitive player and a competitive player's mindset. I will admit this much. But the downside is, as a competitive player, I'm not liked. Nobody likes me. Like, at all. Not me, in general. A competitive player. Nobody likes a competitive player. A competitive player won't like a competitive player because they're actually competing against the competitive player. They are literally in a position of rivalry with said competitive player by nature. A casual player won't like a competitive player because of the fact that, you know, the casual player comes in with a preconceived notion of a bad point of perspective with this competitive player. This competitive player isn't there to have fun. This competitive player is there to win. At all times, this competitive player is always trying to win. Nobody likes us. We are literally the scum of the earth to the entire community solely based off either rivalry or based off of the idea that we are there solely to win and not to have fun. My idea of fun is to improve. My idea of fun is to troll my opponent when I know I can't win. Okay? I like linking off into Almirage and attacking into the Red Eyes Dragoon for game. Okay? That's, you know, that's my idea of fun, is just to like, you didn't kill me, I killed me. You know, that's my idea of fun. You know, that's something I find humorous. That's something that I find fun. My idea of fun is to sit down and be like, okay, I can win at any time, but you know, I'll let you guys kill each other instead. And in response to me having the ability to win, kill each other. You know, it's like, that's my idea of fun, is kind of like lording over the fact that someone else can choose who gets second instead of me choosing who gets second, or me just saying you all die at the same time. You know, that's my idea of fun. Okay? So, my idea of fun is to win, but it's also there to, you know, have fun. You know, I'm there to laugh and stuff like that. It makes it kind of hard when you sit across from the table, and the person comes in with the idea of, ugh, this is a drag. Like Shikamaru, ugh, what a drag. Yeah, it's not fun when you're just sitting across from the other person. This really came into light. This really has been like the forefront of my mind for like the last like month and a half. I've been learning how to play Universes. It's this really awesome card game. Oh my god, it's this awesome card game. I love this card game to death. I have Universes cards like right next to me. Like, it's this awesome, awesome card game. It used to be called UFS. It's this awesome card game, okay? Like, I can't describe how awesome this card game is. And I sat down across from a player. And right off the bat, they kind of like set off alarms in my head. Because I was like, hey, let's play, like, and then, like, yeah, his friend, one of my old friends, apparently, old friend, but whatever, he was like, yeah, we don't play any of those competitive games like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore, because they got too out of hand. I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, no, because I built a top-tier deck. I cut no expenses building this deck, so I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, God, oh, no, in my head, I'm like, oh no. And the guy across from me, he's like, oh yeah, I didn't even bother buying like the rest of my deck because like I'm just here to have fun. And right off, he starts complaining. And he starts complaining. And he starts complaining. He starts calling me one of those players. And that is the most insulting thing to call a player in general, is one of those players. Because there's never a good connotation to one of those players. If you get called one of those players, you're being insulted. It's not a matter of question. They are insulting you. They want you to understand they don't like you. You are not liked. You are not wanted at that table. You are not wanted to be there. There is never, oh yeah, he's one of those players. I love those guys. No, never. Never. Absolutely never. Never. You are the scum of the earth. Go away from us. You don't belong. They will never, in that regard, say you're one of those players and want you there. At all. But, like, I was super excited because this is, like, my first time getting to try this deck out in an filtered, you know, not playing demo decks or not playing against trial decks. You know, it's like one of those first times where it's like, I'm actually getting to try out my deck against another deck. So, I sit across from him, and right off the bat, he's not trying to win. At all. Like, he's not, and I have no issue with somebody not trying to win. If you're just trying to have fun, I get it. But he's not even trying to have fun. He's going into this with this negative connotation just because of the fact that I am one of those players. My deck is not top tier levels. Like, okay, it's not tier 0, it's not tier 1, it's tier 2. Tops. Like, the only saving grace I have with my deck is that I can pilot it. That's it. My local judge says tier 2. I say tier 1. He says tier 2. I'm going to go with tier 2 because he knows more about the game than I do. So I'm going to go with tier 2. He says tier 1. He says tier 2. I say tier 1 because I think like I have a better utility. I think you get really downplaying the amount like your hand is actually worth. But whatever. Okay, that's besides the point. That's a debate for another time. Him and I are going to have that tomorrow because I love this guy and oh my god, we're going to have this discussion. So. But, like, this guy is not trying to have fun. I'm not bashing him because, like, I get it. If you're new to the game, too, and someone sits across from you, and they already have, because I have a negative, you know, reputation? I want to say reputation. With this particular group, with this guy's particular friend group, I have a negative reputation. I am definitely a competitive player by nature. They know this very well. Like I said, one of those guys, I went to middle school with him. I've known this man for like 10 plus years. Like he knows me, not as well as he used to, but he knows me by nature, okay? So he understands, you know, who I am and what I am playing for. So they already have a negative connotation with me. That's something they already have. Even when playing Vanguard, they were still getting the information that I am a competitive player because I played Chaos. Fun fact, I played Chaos, not because of the fact that it was competitive, but because I really like Chaos Breaker's card art. That's it. Chaos Breaker and Chaos Breaker, best card art in the game. No, don't at me. Don't at me. Okay? Chaos Bringer, specifically, insane card art. Horrible card, insane card art. That's besides the point. That's besides the point. But yeah, no, I already have this negative connotation of being a competitive player by nature. But the entire day, he was just, like, the entire game, he was just complaining. He was just complaining. And he had the ability to deal massive amounts of damage in one attack, and he didn't do it. And I was, like, genuinely offended at this because, like, as a competitive player, when you can literally half hit me and you don't do it, that's a slap to my face. Like, when I can read the card, and the card says deal 20 damage, I'm at 27 life, and you don't do it, you're slapping me across the face. And not even, like, with your hand, with your dick. You're hitting me across the face with your goddamn dick. You're like, huh, fuck you. I ended up winning the next turn, so it didn't really matter much, but it was besides the point. It was a matter of the fact that he had the ability to hurt me really badly, and he didn't do it. If I couldn't have won that next turn, he would have had a good opening to finish me off during his next turn, and he didn't do it. That was insulting. And it wasn't as though, you know, he was going into this with the idea of like, oh, it don't matter if I win or lose. He went into it with the idea of, I'm going to lose. I'm playing against a competitive player, he's going to win. That ruins the fun for everybody involved. When you go in there with that preconceived notion of, I'm going to automatically lose because this man is a competitive player, you ruin the fun for yourself, and the competitive player has to sit there and sit through knowing the fact that they're ruining your fun. I sit down across from somebody not to ruin their fun, but because I want to play the game. If I'm competing, I'm competing. If I'm not, I'm not. I don't care. You know, if I'm there for a tournament, I'm trying to win. But I also want to have fun because you can't always win. If you lose, you got to still be able to laugh and have fun. But if you win, you know, you still got to make sure that your opponent has a good time playing their match because you want that person to like you because you have the same hobbies. You're in the same community, whether or not you're competitive or not. And I guess what I'm trying to get to is most people will say competitive players are running most games. Honestly, though, it's kind of the other way around. Casual gamers are kind of killing our fun. It's kind of killing the idea of wanting to play the game. This kind of like brought it to the forefront for me, where it was like, you know, I kind of started to see it a little bit more after that week, and I started experiencing it in other games too. It started with the UFS, and then it turned into when I went to Vanguard. One of my friends, even outside of Vanguard, I would still call him my friend. He's awesome, a great guy, and I have no ill will towards him. I actually felt like an asshole after doing it. We were playing a Royal Paladin mirror match, and in Vanguard, if you take 6 damage, you lose. I took 0 damage, and I brought him up to 6 damage in 1 turn. And I felt like an asshole. I'm not gonna lie. And especially considering I told him beforehand, I was like, you're not even gonna hit me. Like, before the game even started, I was like, you're not even gonna hit me. I'm gonna bring you to 6, and I'm gonna get you so hard, your girlfriend's gonna get jealous. And we were laughing about it and everything until it happened. And I felt like crap, because that was not actually my plan. It was literally just, he couldn't get over. I was like 5k guard, and he couldn't get over. And I was like 5k guard, and he couldn't get over. He didn't get a trigger. And then I kind of won on my grade 3 turn. And so it was like, oh, I feel bad. And he felt like crap for the rest of the event. He actually dropped out and literally left the venue. We met up at a restaurant later on, and he beat me at Smash, so he was fine. It was okay afterwards. Like, we're still in great terms. And we were making jokes about it the last time we hung out. So, you know, it's like, it wasn't as bad as it was initially. It was like initially I was like, I felt like horrible, but we made up afterwards. So it's like, it's whatever. But it's always being able to, you know, feel like you were that player for that person for even a couple minutes, you know, knowing that you ruined their fun, because he left the venue. He dropped out of the event. Like, he dropped out of the tournament. I think it was like I think it was last round anyways, so it didn't really make much of a difference. But he dropped out and he left the venue. And that kind of brought it to the forefront that, like, am I the problem here? And I kind of, like, started thinking about it, and I was like, no, because that was bad luck. You know, he didn't get a trigger to pass, you know, and I just simply threw down a 5k guard, because I know, like, the grade 3 rush turn for Royals is insane. Especially since he got first stride, since he was going to grade 3 before I was. I know that the potential for that stride is insane. Like, you can push someone to 6, you know, in 1 turn with 1 stride. So I knew I needed to guard against the attacks early on and hope that I could just get, like, you know, a defensive trigger, or even just, like, grab a couple PGs from deck to hand, you know, some way to survive. And so I don't really see, like, what I did wrong there. You know, maybe, like, the whole entire "I'll f you so hard your girlfriend will get jealous" might have been too much. That might have been too much trash talking, but we were going back and forth banter as it was anyways, so it really, I don't know. That might have been, like, you know, a little bit too much. Not gonna lie. Maybe debatable. Honestly, debatable. But And then my friend Drunk called me the other day. And I love this dude. Like, we haven't hung out in a while, and I was like, he just called me randomly. I was like, okay, well, I guess we're having a conversation now. And I was like, hey man, why don't we ever get out and, you know, play Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic together? I was like, I'll play Magic with you. I hate Magic right now. I don't want to play Magic right now. I'll play Magic with you if it means we get to hang out. And he was like, honestly, dude, I'm just scared you're gonna win. And I was like, oh. This is kind of like, it hit me kind of hard. Just finally hearing someone say it, you know, it just kind of hit hard. And I started to think, am I the problem in this? I was like, am I too strong, like, in terms of, you know, level of play for our play group? I just started thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, and then I just, like, kind of realized I shouldn't be the problem here. Like, that's not me being, you know, that's not me, like, you know, saying, like, oh, I'm not a problem, you guys just need to get good. That's me saying, I have casual decks, you know, when it comes down to it. I have casual Yu-Gi-Oh decks. I have a lot of Magic singles. I can build a casual commander deck. My roommate has casual commander decks If we get a full pod, he will let me use those casual commander decks to play against other casual decks. I shouldn't be the problem. Why am I the problem here whenever I'm willing to accommodate the different levels of play that everyone else is playing at? How does this make me the problem? And then I started to realize that every single thing that all of these people have in common is that they're casual players. And all of them have the same issue, is that I am a competitively natured person, a competitively natured player. This isn't okay. I don't get how we as a community have allowed it to get to the point where originally we all agree the try-hard players were bad. We all agree this. I agree with this. Back when, back in 2014 era with Reborn Tengu, I agree. They were bad. They were toxic. They were like the part that were like, oh, we're the alphas. The game has developed to a point where, it's like anybody can be good. Anyone can understand the levels of play. There isn't a reason as to why a competitive person should be classified as that guy. There isn't. There just isn't. It's like every deck right now in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. If you can make a decent board, if you can make Dragoon in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, for example, as an example, this isn't a be-all, say-all, but as an example, if you can make Dragoon in Yu-Gi-Oh!, if your deck can do that consistently, your deck is good. You're fine. You're a decent player. As long as you understand the line of play you need to make Dragoon, people will call you a good player. You shouldn't be called a casual player. If your deck can make Dragoon, you're not a casual player. Okay? That's it. That's all that needs to be said about that. Granted, if you don't have, I don't have 3 copies of Forbidden Droplets. I don't have a single copy of Forbidden Droplets. I don't have any Lightning Storms. I am literally waiting for Megaton reprints to get these things because I don't want to drop the money when there's no events. I'm right now. A lot of people would say I'm a casual player because I'm playing Shaddolls with no Invoked. I am playing Shaddolls with no Dogmatica. I am playing flat Shaddolls. That's it. Pure Shaddolls with Dragoon Engine thrown in. That is my current competitive Yu-Gi-Oh deck. After that, we have PK. And then we have Paleo, and Ice Bears, and Sacred Beast, because I like playing 3 structure decks, just all together. Yeah, I bought my frogs before the reprints. Sad face sad. But that's besides the point. It's honestly gotten to a point where there isn't an excuse to be rude to competitive players. I mean, granted, if you're playing a casual over the tabletop game, like if I'm sitting over there and my friend or my brother brings in his Machinas, and instead of pulling out my Ice Bears or pulling, because it's not Earth Machinas, it's not Earth Machinas, it's just Machinas, it's archetypal Machinas. If I sit down across from him and I pull out, my PK deck, I'm an asshole. I'll agree with that, but I'm not going to do that. Unless he willingly agrees to the fact that he understands I'm playing a competitive deck, I'm not going to do that. I'll pull out Paleo Frogs. That's fine. With both of us, that is a decent power level to be at when playing against Machinas. He has no issue with this. It has no hand traps in it. It is literally just Paleo Frogs. That's it. That's all the deck is Paleo Frogs. The only card we have any debate about is Anti-Spell Fragrance and Imperial Order. That's the only issues inside the deck, and he understands that. He has, and if it were just, and this isn't me bagging on casual players. This isn't that at all. This is me saying, give competitive players a chance, because we're not bad people. We just want to improve as players and as people. This is just something that we naturally want to do as part of our characteristics. It is one of our quote-unquote character traits is to want to improve and be better than we were the game before. We want to make those misplays. We will misplay. How do you think we know our line of plays? It's because we made those mistakes initially. We want to get better. Help us get better, and maybe we can help better you too. When we give you advice on how to upgrade your deck, or if you messed up a line of play, or if you could have chain blocked here, or if you should have held your mana here, don't get mad at us. We're here for you just as much as we hope you're there for us. If you want us to tone down the power level of our decks, or if you want us to play a different deck, tell us if you have a spare. If you have a spare, we're more than willing to play. Tell us if you want us to, build another deck. If we can accommodate it into a budget, we can do that. We want everybody to have fun. We want to have fun. We want everybody to enjoy the game as much as we do. If they enjoyed it in a different way, maybe we need to find different playgroups. But we would rather, stick with the people we know. If you're in a localized area and you don't have the ability to just say, I'm going to go join a different playgroup, then maybe listen to your community. If everybody in your local community has an issue with the way you're playing, maybe it's time to switch the way you're playing. Or maybe it's time to build another deck and keep your other competitive deck for events, with you. But if you're playing in a tournament, even if it's just the locals, and there's a prize pack on the line, don't get mad at the person who's there to win. A prize pack is a prize pack. A prize pack has an equal chance to pull a collector's rare as any other pack. OTS packs have an equal chance to have a hit card in them as any other OTS pack. You can't get mad at a player for solely wanting to get ahead of the curve. If there's profit to be had, don't get mad at the person to go for that profit. All they're doing is just trying to make sure that they can better themselves, even if it's one card at a time. So, I guess, what I'm trying to say is, competitive players aren't the problem in a community. And honestly, neither are casual players. But casual players need to be more willing to accept the fact that competitive players are there to have fun just as much as the casual player is. We want to enjoy the game just the same as you do, just in a different method. I guess that's all I'm really trying to say. So, stay tuned till next time, guys, and we'll have another discussion video then. Deuces.